Alright, our objective today is I will use a fraction to name one part of a whole that is divided into equal parts. Alright, so what does that mean? What does that look like? Alright, so let's first focus on unit fractions of a whole. Well, what is a fraction? A fraction, guys, is a number that names part of a whole, or we can say part of a group. So a fraction is a number that names part of a whole or part of a group. And we're gonna practice what does that look like, part of a whole, soon. In a fraction, the top number tells how many equal parts are being counted. And it also has a special name, guys. This top number that tells us how many equal parts are being counted, that's called the numerator. The numerator, the top number in a fraction. Now this bottom number, the bottom number tells how many equal parts are in the whole or in the group. And it also has a name. And that bottom number that tells us how many equal parts of a whole is called the denominator. And the more we practice with those vocabulary terms, it'll stick with you, okay? A unit fraction, I want you to think of unit equals 1. So a unit fraction names one equal part of a whole. Only one part, guys, out of the entire whole. It has 1 as its top number, as its numerator. For example, 1/6, right here, 1/6, not 1/6, 1/6, you have to add the th after 6, is a unit fraction because it has one equal part out of a whole. Let's unlock the problem. Luke's family picked strawberries. They put the washed strawberries in one part of a fruit platter. The platter had 6 equal parts. What fraction of the fruit platter had strawberries? All right, so look at this whole right here, this circle. We're going to say that this is the fruit platter. And we know I'm going to shade one of the 6 equal parts, okay? So this whole right here is divided equally, as you can see. Look at these equal parts. And if you count them, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal parts. And that's what they tell us, 6 equal parts. And we're going to shade 1. And it does not matter, y'all, where you would shade it, as long as you only shade in one equal part. So this fraction that represents the whole, what fraction of a fruit platter had strawberries, is 1/6. And as you can see it right here in word form. That's how you would spell it out. Word form, 1/6. Okay, so 1/6 of the platter had strawberries. Now down here, y'all, we can use a fraction to find a whole. This shape right here, this square in blue, is 1/4 of a whole, of the whole. Here are examples of what the whole could look like. Here is a whole. As you can see, it is divided equally into 4 equal parts. And each of these equal parts, boys and girls, equals 1/4. So a total of 4/4 is shaded. And B and C are different ways we can represent this whole that represents each of these squares out of the whole figure equals 1/4. This is a fourth, 1/4. This is 1/4, 1/4, and 1/4. You have 4 equal parts that are shaded out of a total of 4 parts, equal parts. And the same is with C. Let's practice some. All right, so look at this whole. Okay, this whole. We could even think of it as a candy bar, right? I love to use food when we're talking about fractions. So the question says, what fraction names the shaded part? So, okay, guys, we're asked what fraction names the shaded part. So we have to make sure we have our numerator and denominator. Well, let's think. How many equal parts of this whole do we see? This whole is divided into how many parts? Let's count. 1, 2, 3. And boys and girls, make sure, you have to always make sure you count the equal parts that are shaded as well. So there's 1, 2, 3 equal parts out of this whole figure. And how many parts are shaded? Well, look in this part. This one part that's green, and that's shaded. So 1/3. Okay? Make sure, boys and girls, that you do not just write 1 as your answer. One part is shaded because 1 right here, that's a whole number. The question said what fraction, so you have to make sure you have your numerator and denominator. Let's practice some more. All right, so the instructions for this section down here, write the number of equal parts in the whole. Okay, so that would look like, let's see. Let's count. Look at this whole. How many equal parts, y'all? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 equal parts. We just did the first step to those instructions. Then write the fraction that names the shaded part. All right, so our top number, boys and girls, tells us how many parts, equal parts, are being counted. They want us to count the shaded part. So let's look at number 2. How many parts are shaded? There are 2 parts that are being shaded. I'm going to write this large. You can write it on this blue line. Don't forget I call this a fraction bar or my fraction line. It separates the top number, the numerator, from the bottom number, which is the denominator. Now the denominator tells us how many equal parts are in the whole. We just said it, 6 equal parts. So 6 would be our denominator. 2, 6 is shaded. All right, I'm going to do one more. Let's look at number 3. First, we need to tell how many equal parts of the whole. Just count these squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 equal parts, okay? Now we have to write a fraction that names the shaded part. Well, how many equal parts are shaded, y'all? 1. So 1 would be our numerator, our top part. And the denominator, the bottom number, tells us how many equal parts out of the whole. There are 8, so 1/8 would be the fraction. Okay? And I'll do one more. Number 4, how many equal parts? 1, 2, 3 equal parts. Now we're going to write a fraction that names the shaded part. How many parts are shaded? Just this one part right here. So we would write 1, and how many equal parts of the entire whole is 3, 1/3. Now, boys and girls, I want to look at some more problems. I want to look at, we're going to read and write some fractions that represent more than one part of a whole that is also divided into equal parts. Let's look at this Italian flag. All right, so here's Italy's flag, and it has 3 equal parts, as you can see. 1, 2, 3, right? And we know a fraction can name more than one equal part of a whole. The flag, again, is divided into 3 equal parts. Well, there are 2 equal parts that are not red. This green, that's equal, and this white part. To write a fraction of the flag that is not red, well, I already counted there are 1, 2 equal parts that are not red. But how many equal parts do we see out of this whole, out of the flag? 1, 2, 3. So 2/3 represents the fraction of the flag that is not red. Okay? So 2/3 of the flag is not red. Now remember, the numerator tells us how many parts are being counted, and that up here represented the 2 because we were asked what fraction of the flag was not red. 1, 2, 2 equal parts. And remember, boys and girls, that the denominator tells how many equal parts are in the whole or in the group. And you can count equal parts such as sixths to make a whole. Okay? So here you can see a whole is divided equally into 6 parts, all of these pictures, all of these wholes. They're just showing you that 1/6 is shaded here, 2/6 are shaded here, then 3/6, 4/6, 5/6, and then as you can see, the last whole, 6 equal parts are shaded out of the whole that is divided into 6 equal parts. And 6/6 equals 1 whole. This whole shape, this whole figure are divided into 6 parts and they're all shaded. So that equals 1 entire whole. And we'll practice more. All right, write the missing word or number to name the shaded part. So we're naming the shaded part, y'all. All right, so there's 1, 2 parts that are shaded. They already wrote 2 for our numerator out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal parts. That's our denominator. And we're going to write it in word form, so we would just write the word 2. What about this one? There are how many equal parts that are shaded? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equal parts that are shaded out of how many total parts out of the whole? There are 8. So 5/8, and in word form we would write the word 5. All right, let's look down here. It says shade 2 parts out of 8 equal parts. All right, so I'm going to shade. Doesn't matter where you shade as long as you shade in only 2 parts. Here we go, I'll just shade side by side, make it easy like that. Then write a fraction in words and in numbers to name the shaded part. Well, there are 2/8 that are shaded, and to write that in numbers, we would write that as a fraction. 2 equal parts are shaded out of how many equal parts of the whole? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 2/8. That's how you would write a fraction. And each of these parts out of the whole, boys and girls, represents an eighth. 1/8. All of these parts equals 1/8. Okay? Now, let's do a couple more. It says, write the fraction that names each part and write a fraction in words and in numbers to name the shaded part. All right, so each part is, let's see. Well, first, let's see how many, this is a triangle, and how many equal parts is it divided into? 1, 2, 3, 4. So each part, boys and girls, is a 1/4. Each part is 1/4 out of the whole. Well, how many parts are shaded? There are 1, 2. 2/4 are shaded. So I wrote that in words, and now I'm going to write it in numbers. I'm going to write the fraction. So there are 2 equal parts shaded out of 4 in all. 4 parts in all. Let's look at number 3. Each part is, well, let me see. This is a whole circle. How many equal parts? How many equal parts is this whole divided into? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So each part is 1/6. There are how many parts that are shaded? 1, 2, 3 sixths are shaded. And to write the fraction, we would write 3/6, 3/6. All right, last one. Each part is, well, let's see. This whole is divided into 1, 2, 3, 4 fourths. So each part would be 1/4. How many parts are shaded? 1, 2, 3. 3/4. And to write that in numbers, we would write a fraction. 3/4. 3/4 is shaded.